The gathering of the women in the neighbourhood was always the best part of the day. In fact, I really didn't like going to school. I hated missing these gatherings with the women at my house. But by about 10 o'clock in the morning, the women had been up since about 5 in the morning, cleaning, baking, preparing, getting their kids off to school. And by about 10 o'clock in the morning, it was kind of a natural time for the kettle to go on and the teapot to come out. And it just seemed to be that my mother's vibration in the world was the hub. We actually lived in the tiniest house in the street with the smallest kitchen, but all the women that lived on the crest of that hill would come to my mother's house. My mother was a natural intuitive, but she was an intuitive that naturally had an affinity to the way she would read a person's body. So you would walk into her presence and she would get an impression of what was perhaps going on in your body, how you were feeling, whether you were well, whether you were not well. And this later led her in her life to go on to study naturopathy. Of course, she was a natural healer, so naturopathy, osteopathy, reflexology, homeopathy, all of those things became a natural place that my mother could naturally use her own God-given gifts. My grandmother was a seer. She would often pick a piece of our jewelry off and read that vibration of our jewelry. That is called psychometry. And many of the women in the neighbourhood just loved these gatherings that happened around 10 o'clock in the morning. And so part of these little posts is honouring the women in my life that brought me so much. All of these women came from different walks in life. They didn't really have lots of anything, but they made do with what they had. They had a deep gratitude for what they had. And they had a gratitude for coming together every day and swapping their stories, all of which would always come down to lots of tears and lots of laughter and lots of cups of tea. It was a ritual that happened most days of the week. And it's a ritual, I guess, I've carried on in my own life, perhaps not directly at 10 o'clock in the morning, but certainly my house has become a bit of a house where people just drop by because they're coming in for the healing is what they're doing. They're coming in for the conversation. They're coming in for the support. They're coming in for the care. And we often had a deck of cards nearby. We often had a deck of cards that were not these tarot cards that we have now, but they were playing cards. This is a good one that just popped out. Abundance and joy and feeling grateful in life. So that was a nice one to receive today. But the one that I drew earlier was actually this beautiful Ace of Cups. I hope you can really see that. The beautiful symbol of the Ace of Cups, the beginning of everything new. It's like a kind of a birth and a rebirth. It's the beginning of perhaps falling in love or being more in love with your own life and your own vibration. It lends itself to creative ideas, being in synchronicity with creative ideas, and being in synchronicity with love. So I'm really happy I got this card today. So think about the action of having that cup of coffee or having that cup of tea, and think about the fact that it's not just sitting down to have a cup of coffee, it's actually a ceremony. It's a ceremony where you, if you are on your own, you might be just needing that quiet space to gather your thoughts, to get your breath, to ask yourself, okay, what is next in my day? What do I need to pay attention to today? Or how can I do this differently? It's very much a comfort thing, having a cup in the hand. It's very much a comfort that I think all of us need on a global scale now, because we feel very bombarded by the incoming technology and the incoming voices of other people. But you know, deep within you, you know the way and you are lovingly guided. So we'll talk again really soon. Next time you've got the kettle on.